Hello. I'm in my studio today. I've got some things to be working on in here, and I've got some things to be making. One of those things is a bouquet that is going to a male recipient, and I want to make this bouquet so that it has a more masculine feel to it. And I thought I would take you along because there are some considerations that go into the ingredient selection and the color choice and even the design style and presentation for a bouquet like this. Now, if you know me, you know that I grow seasonally and I design with whatever it is that I can source off of my farm and from my cut flower gardens. One of the groups of flowers that lends itself really well to bouquet styles like this are the tropical flowers. They have strong and structural shapes and colors. I don't have access to those flowers here in my gardens in Langley, British Columbia, Canada. So it's going to be interesting to see what sort of flowers I come up with out of my own gardens that can still lend a more masculine feel to a bouquet. For example, I'm going to be paying special attention to the shapes of the flowers. I'm going to be leaning away more from the fluffier textural filler flowers, and I'm going to be looking for cuts that have strong structural shapes and really interesting shapes to them. For example, these lupins, which have a strong linear quality to them. So I've already picked out my ingredients and I've had them conditioning and they are ready for me to design with. So let's dig in now. We'll go through the ingredients. We'll go through the stylistic choices from color to placement that I'm making for this bouquet. And let's see what I come up with. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and lay out my ingredients. One of the first considerations that is going through my mind when I'm making a bouquet for a man and I want a stronger look is the color. So I'll be going for bolder color combinations quite often. Several colors in there, usually very clean and clear and strong colors like reds and yellows and blues. So I have a couple of burgundy peonies here. I have some lime green alchemilla, a little bit more of a feminine, fluffier shape, but the color is so nice with this kind of combination. I also have some red 9-bark. Something else that I'm looking at as I choose my flowers and foliage is the shape of the flower. So I'm really looking for strong shapes, structural elements. I have some peach ranunculus that is going to bring a little bit of the orangey tones to go in with reds and yellows and blues and greens. One of the key ingredients that is going to feature in this bouquet is the lupin, so a very nice, strong, linear element. Another flower that could work, which I don't happen to have blooming right now, would be delphinium. Circular shapes are really great for this as well. I'm on the last of my alliums, but rounded allium shapes or craspedia, really think funky shapes, bright colors, and nice and bold. I'm going to be including some centaurea just for those pops of blue. And I have a little bit of yellow columbine just to bring in a bit of my yellow, because I also have a couple of yellowy brownish Dutch irises and they are suitably closed right now. So these will open up in the bouquet. But in the meantime, I wanted to have a little bit more yellow, so I'm including a little bit of those dainty columbines. They're actually probably the more masculine columbine that I do grow because it's quite a bit of a larger bloom size. These are McKenna Giant columbines. And foliage is, as I mentioned, also really important. I would love to have a strong linear foliage to back this bouquet, but I don't. But I did wander around and realize that these hellebore foliages are really very funky and very structural. So I'm going to be including some of these in this bouquet. I have one more columbine just to sit low and help fluff out my bouquet a little bit, but I really don't want to have too many textures. I don't want to have too many soft textures going on in this bouquet. This is a little bit of bee balm just to help me base out my bouquet. Likewise, I have a little bit of dogwood foliage to give me a nice base to work within. So along with color and flower shape, the third consideration for this manly bouquet is the style. Do I make it all around? How do I make it? So for the size of this bouquet and also the occasion, I'm going to be making this bouquet as a linear style bouquet. So here we go. I'll try to work down here, partly just so that you can see what I'm doing. And first, I'm just going to get my foliages in place because they're going to help me with the overall shape of my design. And this is going to be still a spiral technique. I'm still spiraling my stems. Just the order in which I'm adding them is just a little bit different. So I want to think height and size, and I really want to highlight every single flower in this bouquet and give it its own space. So I'm going to start with my main linear element, the lupin, and thread those stems down and in. And I want to stagger my heights. Really give each flower a place in this bouquet to really stand out. Now I'm going to come in with this 9 bark, which is giving me some structure as well. Get that line. You see that line developing. And I want to carry this color down through the entire bouquet so that the eye can travel throughout. Okay, I'm going to come in now with my first focal. And I am grouping flowers as I go here. So this bouquet is quite organized. All right, I'm gonna come in with my ranunculus. I don't want to lose my depth into this bouquet. I still want there to be a lot of three-dimensionality. And spiraling my steps is really going to help me with that. I'm going to be a little bit limited with my ranunculus placements just based on the height of the stems. The length is really going to end up deciding exactly how high I can go with those ones. All right, pop an allium here in my base. It's going to carry my purpley color even further down. And just continually double checking my heights, make sure everything has its own space in this bouquet. I have a few more things now to work in, sort of more on the left side here. I want to work a little bit more and balance this shape out a little bit. I want to base a columbine down in here. And we're going to work the centuria in. This is a lovely perennial to have this time of year in the gardens. Defoliage this. Should have done that before. Kind of a funky flower, so really great and interesting for this particular bouquet. Don't recommend picking leaves off once you're in the bouquet. It's a lot faster to do this before you start making one, but there we go. All right, now finally I'm going to put my irises in now. These are harvested when they're still closed like this, and we really don't want them opening up too quickly. So it's a little tricky when you're working with a bouquet that I still want a vase life on, and I'm not gonna get a lot of show for this flower in this bouquet. So I'm only putting 2 in because they're really not gonna be perceived by my customer immediately until they actually open up. But I wanted this lovely yellow in here just to bring that final color. So I'm going to place one down low here so that when it opens up here, it'll be really showy. And I will place the other one right above that one. I'm going to thread this one carefully in here. So that it essentially is basically going to be popping open and floating above this peony in its own location in the bouquet. Finally, just to tie the yellow in, just to break up the blueness in this palette, I'm just going to place my little columbines in here, my last little bits. Break this down a bit, make it easier to work with. And these little guys can go up front here. They will actually eventually open, these little buds. Actually find they last quite a long time when used with lots of buds left on them. Place my final piece of hellebore here. I don't know if you noticed I had pulled that out because it was just getting in my way, and I really wanted it to base out this bouquet. All right, so that's my bouquet. You can see I'm taking advantage of the height of the lupins, really extend the length as much as I can to really get an overall wow factor. Echoing the linear shapes with foliage, grouping my flowers by color, by type, and bringing my focals down into the bouquet to really draw the eye downwards. And from the side, you can see that the back of this bouquet is fairly flat, but there is a lot of depth to it. As it lays in the bouquet, it kind of comes forward. I'm still getting a lot of dimensionality and interest. So I'm going to tie this bouquet off with some sisal now. So this bouquet can actually simply be placed in a vase by my customers. They don't need to untie it at all. So here's an example of a more narrow vase that fits it, or as the one I'm using, can display it a little bit more on an angle, a little bit more artistically. This design style has its advantages for certain types of events. So Another word for this style of bouquet is a flat bouquet or a presentation bouquet. So they're really great for certain types of events like graduations where there's going to be photos taken, the flowers display really nicely, they show really well for photography. They can be cradled really easily in the arm like this. So let's get this bouquet wrapped up. I'm going to grab a couple sheets of paper. And first I've got a bit of paper towel that I'm going to dip in some water and a piece of waxed brown paper. So first I'm going to take my paper towel and get it nice and wet, and it's going to go around the base of the stems. And I'm going to set the bouquet in my bit of wax paper and wrap up the base of the stems like this. And I've already got a piece of sisal pre-cut. You could also use elastic. And I'm just going to tie this up. And I've got a piece of tissue paper to place in here as well. And I just want to create a point at the back of this bouquet just to enhance the shape, and I don't want to cover the front too much. So I can take my second piece of paper over top. I'm just laying this flat over top. And this piece I'm just going to tug and wrap all the way around. Just to finish that off. And it hides the stems nicely. And then because this is for a man, I'm not going to use a ribbon. I will just use a piece of sisal, string, twine, or that sort of thing. Raffia can also be good. And I'm just going to fasten that. Tie it in a loop rather than a bow. And that is our bouquet. If you grow a cut flower garden, whether it's for your own enjoyment or whether you make a business of growing and selling cut flowers, chances are you'll probably eventually get a request for a bouquet like this. So I hope that this video has given you some useful things to think about when creating a more masculine bouquet with a more artful design. This has been a fun one for me. It always is a challenge to create something a little bit more specific out of the gardens when I'm limited to what it is that I can possibly grow and source from my own spaces, because I am so limited by whatever the weather is doing and whatever the season is doing. So I'm happy with how this bouquet has turned out. And when my customer came to pick it up, even though we hadn't discussed that it should have a masculine feel to it, one of the first things she said was, "Oh, wow, I love how masculine it looks." So I'm always grateful when I can nail a brief like that. I consider it mission accomplished. And I'm also grateful to you for hanging out in the studio with me. As always, let me know if you have any questions or comments. I'm always very happy to hear from you. It's really nice when I'm putting videos out there to actually receive communication from the real human beings on the other side of the video. So thank you, those of you who hang out with me, who comment regularly. I don't know if you know how much I appreciate you guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.